drink, ink, and dream. The bottle's full at first glance. First sip's like a field of dreams. The writer makes romance, gives a poor man means. Some lost today, ones that bring night, got such fierce thirst for the ones that are ripe. Grind the black pepper, while salt's still as clay. I'll pass you a glass, you'll fill with your play. While you wander, I'll wonder. Think I will, but don't stay. As you rattle, I'll sink. As you swim, I'll pray. The bottle's full at first glance. First sip's like a field of dreams. The writer makes romance, gives a poor man means. You'll sip from a bowl of the things you heard. I'll fill the books, arrange all the words. I'll answer that door to a place we'll call home, where you can rest your body and park your bones. When you don't know you're even giving, and there's no work yet to be done, this part we call a beginning feels a prize won. I'll pull from the plum, you gather off the vine. I'll pour pages, you'll drink lines. The bottle's full at first glance. First sip is like a field of dreams. The writer makes romance, gives a poor man means.
Welcome to Writers Radio. I'm Carol Harmon, your host for this episode, Poems by British Columbia poets Kelsey and Jacinda Oldale. When the program opened, you heard Jacinda reading Drink, Ink, and Dream. Without further ado, let's listen to Kelsey introduce and read Charred in November.
Charred in November grows new leaves. My mother picks in wind, almost snow, brings them into the kitchen in a red plastic colander, sets in the sink. On the windowsill rests the little basil plant, whose spindly leaves have fallen even inside, who never tells me if it's drunk too much or not enough. The chard at the top of the garden drank dribbles from the drip line and rain, has drunk so much rain last week, its roots swelled, each thick hair curling, gorged. Finally, it has enough water, but now the cold. Chard never gives up, warms its leaves one against the other, huddles into itself. It can take anything you throw at it, make it into chlorophyll and triumph.
Jake and Kelsey, we had a little discussion before we turned the record button on, and there was a good suggestion that we start by talking about how poetry interacts in your daily life.
It does seem to be a part of most of my days. If it's not writing, there's some kind of recollection of thinking that happens in some kind of art form, sometimes visual art, but often I have to write, and poetry is the form that comes.
For me, I think poetry is partly a way of seeing. And so even when I'm not writing, I'm looking. And I'm doing it the way I want to be doing it. I'm noticing in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think writing it down then gives me an excuse for noticing the world.
Oh, that's interesting. An excuse for noticing the world.
Love that.
I love that.
Yeah, I relate to that too. It's a place for the collection of observations to go, or the themes that are running through the week.
So what comes first, the poem or the observation?
Ooh.
I think it depends. I'll sometimes be writing a poem about something and then suddenly notice that thing everywhere. Yeah. Or I'll notice something and then go to the page. So I think it could be either.
Definitely. Yeah, it happens both ways.
A recent Christmas tradition for us in our house is we buy amaryllis bulbs, which are forced. So they're put in the dark for months. And then when you let them out, they believe it's spring, even though it's Christmas, and they bloom. And it's a little bit of color in the winter when nothing is blooming, you know. And this poem is sort of about that. A candle must be lit with a match, but amaryllises light themselves when it is time. You put them in the linen closet in the hall where you once put your kids' Furbies that Christmas they each got one. The Furbies, robotic toys, flicked mechanical ears and made noises whenever you went for new sheets, which startled. Amaryllis bulbs, much less scary, smell slightly of dirt. What do they think, all those weeks in the dark? They dream of the time when they will emerge and be beautiful. They will wear red gowns with full, fleshy skirts. They will get all the dances, but refuse any waltzes, which make them dizzy. They will dance, mouths open, bulbous root feet in slippers of earth.
Winter Solstice Memo. Wishing you the feeling that raises your heart like a crystal glass to the brightest natural light. That you might engage in deep memory of being held in wonder and invite that knowing back into this exact moment. Let it come as sunlight through window. For effervescent air that makes your skin tingle light and lithe, that brings the roses out in your cheeks and along the borders of yourself, to keep you guided by beauty, grounded by nature, rooted in truth. So your mind is lifted into inspired thought, followed by confident movement. Peace makes itself available with ease. It's inside, patient for your attention. Don't rush. May the closing of the year, with its dark curtains drawing inwards, allow the fighting spark of life to cut through the carnage, pierce through the fear, with love as action. Pay attention to the instructions. If it seems simple, you've got it right. With love from the universe, always and always.
February is the worst month of the year for me. I always get depressed in February. I'm always miserable all February. And I start to feel better again in the spring. So this poem is about that. Seasonal affective reorder. Right this second, buds of the neighbor's magnolia shrug off their bud skins, reveal pink shoulders, lotioned, toilet watered, though on our side of the fence, fat white buds still wait in their coats. The forsythia sings hockey fight songs in yellow. By the driveway, Oregon grape harmonizes, readying to grow fruit to be eaten in its time. I have wasted winter with sickness. Spring puts green meat back on the bones.
I was 12 when I started to write regularly. And it was directly influenced by my reading The Diary of Anne Frank. She was 12 when she wrote it. And I couldn't believe that. And I had always been terrified of death. And so I suddenly thought, look at this amazing child wrote this story of her survival and her life. And her book survived and is relevant to this day as a poignant piece of a survivor. And I just thought, well, that's the key to immortality right there. If I write, then there's something of mine that's left behind that can't be destroyed, or there's a trace of me. I've left a mark. So I became a religious journaler after that. It was really a pivotal, like I can cite it as a pivotal experience for me. And I also, the other thing about it, I realized this in reflection recently, it wasn't just her story and that she was a child. It was also the method, because in each entry of her journal, she would start by writing, "Dear Kitty." And Kitty was like, I think it was like an imagined friend. So she was writing to someone. And that, I think, like I remember somehow thinking, I can't just write down my thoughts. I don't think my sense of self was developed enough to feel like, I knew that I had a voice. So I was really into correspondence as well. I wrote a lot to my grandparents, and who taught me that if you write a letter, you'll get one back. And so I was like, really? Like every time? Like, so it was like, and I lived out in the sticks. So I was really like, I remember running down the gravel to the mailbox in this like lonely prairie to see if there was something in the mailbox. Like I can never get over that. It's just such an evocative memory from childhood.
Yeah, I don't really remember when I started writing, but I remember when I first thought of myself as a poet, which was grade 10. And I was sitting on the like high traffic carpet in the library in my high school and reading The Book of Mercy by Leonard Cohen, who is like the reason I'm a writer. And I remember thinking, if he can turn sadness into something beautiful, then that's what I want to do, and I can do it too. And then I decided to be a poet.
I like Magnolia's style. Naked with white gloves. Fingers splayed in varying stages of play and pose. From come hither to bring me my smelling salts. Or pursing her pink into welcoming goblets perched on the end and along branches. Invites day drinking and early evening rendezvous with beauty. Hers, yours, his, theirs, just one amuse-bouche from spring's selection of canapes.
I've always been fascinated by birds, something about them being able to fly and the sounds they make. This poem is about the sounds they make, I guess. And I am not a morning person, so I am more likely to hear the dusk chorus than the dawn chorus. But it seemed more appropriate for the poem to be about dawn, so I pretended I was up in the morning. Dawn. Mere territories, fences made of song. Each macho phrase articulates, this is mine, is mine, is mine. The hummingbird, when his song failed, flew at encroaching robin, knight errant after huge red-breasted beast, each of his notes defended by tiny boldness and hollow bone. more choirs. In grade 5, the pianist said someone was flat, paced in front, and we kept singing. I sank, secret, into the undersong, my voice lost in the communal noise, but together we could be so loud. If God speaks in omens, then her oracles are these feathered tongues. The sun is coming up, they say. Celebrate, for now you are alive.
Body of light overflows. Fountain becomes path. The source within sparks outside. Cherry blossom, daffodil, hyacinth. Cupped hand, simple falling rain. Open hand, glowing ray of light. Fill, release, hunger, nourishment, sorrow, joy. Return to earth. Dreaming, overdoing, desire opens, heart speaks. Rest once taken falls to dust. Pollen powders face of day, comes to soothe wild hairs, strange knowing, holy hope. To swallow the remains that no one can hold. To transform like bud to blossom, like blossom to fruit, becomes sweetness to the tongue, gold to the belly, and keeps moving through the vessel, stoking presence, giving and receiving as needed. Soul is imbued by the story of creation. It whispers through the fur of stinging nettle, around scissored leaves of dandelion and arugula, over the velvet mint, into the spiral of the rose, through fingers of the azalea, up the nose of foxglove, behind the eyes of forget-me-nots.
I wouldn't call myself a birder. I don't know all the names and I'm terrible with binoculars. But if I happen to be sitting somewhere and there happens to be a bird, I will always watch it, especially herons. This poem is called A Heron Teaches Me How to Hunt, a Cormorant How Not to Fly. A heron hunts, fidgeting only in his blood. His neck straightens, elegant beak strikes, rises. He shakes his head, slowing the wriggling of the eel, gobbles it down his long throat. I lengthen short human neck, patience in the spaces between vertebrae. Too much patience. A cormorant stands all day, wet wings akimbo. Surely he must burn in the sun? I have hesitated like him, but there is danger in stasis, as the eel swims further away. I learn he lacks the oils of other swimming birds. Water infiltrates, makes him heavy so he can dive. Weighted wings. Waiting to dry, the cost of traveling so much deeper.
What's the role of poetry in this difficult time that we're living in? What does that mean for you? How does it help you? Or does it help you navigate the constantly changing world of variety?
I think for me, poetry is very subjective. It's maybe the most subjective of the literary arts. Like a novel, we know what the person thinks, but a poem, we know how they think in a way. And the more subjective you get, I think the more universal it becomes. That's one of those writing truisms. So I think I know poets better than I know novelists that I've read, because it's more personal, it's more subjective. And of course, who knows if I actually know them, but that's another question.
Stay golden. Stay open, like when you were 5 years old, standing arms akimbo. Back then, you were less door, more window. Magic still with you rather than what you were into. Curiosity made you wild and thankfully nimble. Adventure in your wide eyes, at your twinkle toes and sticky fingertips. Adventure was essentially ubiquitous, not something to hunt for, but abundant like my metaphors. Yeah, way back then, just like sometimes now when you can slide back into the smile you had at 10. You played all day, outside till near nighttime, and the hour golden. Spontaneity, a lifeline, casting nets of connection, warms the heart upon reflection. Days so great you couldn't even think straight. Fierce fun races through morning's gate, chasing ideas one after one, butterflies on the run. Back with the family at sundown. Stay golden. What are you holding? How's life unfolding? What in your heart still glitters like gold? What lets you know they broke the mold? What qualities never grow old? What message pulls you to the center, gentles you inward off the edge, a living, breathing solfege, if you will. Something you know by heart that can't be taken even when crisis pulls you apart. A song you've always been singing, a bell your soul keeps on ringing, a banner of hope swinging. Stay golden. Stay in touch with what nourishes rather than feeds. Notice how peace lands if you slow speed. That you need less when you aren't the only one sharing seeds. Humbly rise with dirty hands and knees. Friends collected, circle round, expand the grace. Give thanks, yes, please. Relishing the comfort and ease. Seeing how it works when we listen instead of tease. When we gather because we all have needs. Hello, community. We grow, we grieve. In this thing together to give and to receive. Stay golden. In the green field, wide open. In dark waters, a wish floating. Happiness roams like a bird free, weaving off the breeze, spraying off the turning sea. Try to capture day's dwindling light. Count the stars at midnight. Keep the fire within dancing bright. Live. You have a birthright to joy, love to give, integrity to employ. Move with a music that propels your essence, coaxes courage, invites presence. Stay golden.
This next poem was written after a dentist appointment, which just goes to show that if you pay attention, you can write about just about anything. Fish teeth. I was born at 2143 on the night of the Calgary Stampede Parade. Mom wanted to go that day, but Dad said no. Good thing, Mom says now. Born in the Foothills Hospital, I cried. No one told me this, but in the movies, babies are hit on the bottom until they do. I howled to be born, suddenly a part of the problem. Mom held me on her tired breast. I know this from movies too. The dentist told me the sturgeons, huge river fish so big you laugh when you see them on YouTube, the sturgeons haven't been breeding, can't find their gravel spawning beds under the housing developments, or just too stressed and damned and everything. There are hardly any young ones left, those remaining becoming too old to spawn. When the too few hatch, do they howl, bubbles rising through muddy water? Why did my dentist tell me this? Now my teeth are sore as numbness leaves me, uncovering too much grief. Sturgeons live up to 100 years. They're hard to study because the generations take so long to turn. Biologists age about the same, and death surprises both.
In terms of the role of poetry in trying times, in times of strife, I think that for me, in terms of writing it, well, I've been writing for so long and I write so much, and I'm still shocked that when I'm really struggling emotionally with something that's just very hard to hold, and I think nothing's going to help, nothing will help. I'll just have to write it out. Every time I write about it, there's a transformation that happens. Something physical, visceral happens when I am raw and present, and I allow myself to express in those times. It always is like, I'm getting goosebumps saying it because I'm always shocked. I never believe it. It's like I'm a non-believer. I don't believe it. Nothing's going to help. Writing helps me through it. Gets it out of me onto something else. Screen, page, and I can see it better. It gives me instant perspective. It's too close when it's inside you sometimes, and I think that that's why poetry is such a healthy exercise. It's therapeutic first. Then, if there's something, again, something that's, I liked what you said, Kelsey, about the subjective, it is so subjective, but if there's something that resonates for somebody else, then it's gone from therapeutic to art. And I love it when something is practical and creative at the same time.
Yeah, it's interesting. I find memories, difficult memories, I really love writing about. And one of the reasons is you get it out on the page. So it's out of you, like you were saying. And then also, then I'm looking at it from different angles. And I find it's easier to be kind to myself and to other people when I'm writing. When I bring it back into myself and it becomes just my memory again, it's not as hurtful. And I don't know exactly how that happens, but it happens every time. This next poem took a long time to write. At first, I thought I had two separate poems, and then realized they were two halves of the same one. Peony. 1. Ants. A peony open like a fist after the fight, filled with ants. Tiny ants who hunger too for sweetness. Blossom the size of a small doll's head, heavy with memories of growing. Ants like black hair in her mouth, moving and coiling and tangling. Why do ants come, always, into the mouth of the peony? They eat the nectar that sits on her tongue. 2. The learning. The cut peony in the little vase was teaching me how to die. It held tight to its petals, even when my mother dipped it upside down in water to get rid of ants. The full pleated head nodded for days. Then one breakfast, it was darker pink, and sweet peony rot, overwhelmed. It shriveled, the pleats closing in. I was about to learn the secret when my mother threw it in the compost.
Make love your business. Make love your business. By all means, mind your own garden. That wily plot of dank doubt, complex vine, twiny threaded thought. The one who also fosters flowers of fire and ink pots of desire. But make love your business. Let it lead, like melody, front and center, and within reach, like the careful color that curtains lend to gray day, harmony, like window dressing, all tingles at your edges. Make love your business and your witness, the tiny coal eyes of backyard chickadee, present to your strange movements, alert to the air shared. Make love your business. Be a cordial host, heart holder, lenient listener. Tend and thank each interested guest. Make love your business. Poke your nose in. Interject voluptuous vulnerability. Model peace. Be easy and conscious with time. Make it a mood and a view. Like a good dog, follow love. Look back and see it follows you. I think poetry is this through line for me where, and maybe also because maybe it's the form that I gravitated towards because I think very quickly and I write very quickly, generally. And it's just such a great way to distill. Like, it's like, this is a Polaroid. I used to say, now it's a selfie, but you know what I mean? It's I'm dating myself, but Polaroids, I think poetry often is a Polaroid of like, it distills a moment, which I really love. I love it. It's just like photography. You capture something. The light is right now. It's about timing, listening to me, it's some kind of there's some kind of a rhythm, I think, that this sounds so, it's esoteric, I guess, or something, but it's like, I was thinking about, I wrote a piece recently about the muse, and how I've had this feeling since I was like probably 13, where I get inspired to write, and there's something, it's like clouds are brewing over my head with words, like they're coming together. They're gonna rain down really soon. Get my butt to a chair. Like, I need to sit it because I know they're coming, and it happens all the time. It happened this morning. Like, I'm like, oh, there it's coming. Okay, get ready. Let it pour down. But I think listening to that, like, there's something just really feels really truly beautiful about having something knock at your heart or your soul.
It's interesting what you say about the muse. I think I often write inspired, but in order to get to that inspiration, I have to like show up. So I think of it as you show up for the muse, and then every once in a while the muse shows up back.
Yes.
So you have to be there, or else the pen has to be in your hand, or you'll miss it. We used to grow a few strawberries back on the farm in Grand Prairie when I was a kid, but I don't remember them very well. There weren't that many of them. And I've had grocery store strawberries, which are okay, but not amazing. So it wasn't until I moved to Vancouver Island that I discovered farmers market strawberries. And they're a whole other thing. Strawberry season. Heart-shaped. Not the candy kind, but lump and muscle. Thumbnail digs in, juice runs. My mother had a huller, silver, clean, but I do not. Front teeth cut, tongue macerates. Sweetness must be conquered. Hidden under leaves, it calls out to be plucked. I refuse pastel pretty. Give me the real.
Thanks for joining Jacinda Oldale, Kelsey Andrews, and me, Carol Harmon, for this episode of Writers Radio. This episode is also a podcast, which can be streamed or downloaded from our website, writersradio.ca, or through your favorite podcast provider. Kelsey's book of poems, Big Sky Falling, can be ordered through bookstores or your local library. Visit kelseyandrews.ca to learn more about her writing and workshops. Jacinda's poetry flows through her work as a singer-songwriter, life cycle wedding celebrant, food doula, and poet at Everyday People Typewriter Poems. Subscribe to our free program announcement newsletter at writersradio.ca/subscribe. The Writers Radio team includes Ingrid Rose and Carol Harmon in editorial, and J. Gary Sill for original music and sound production. Thanks for listening.
You have been listening to Writers Radio, a non-commercial collaborative project which presents talented writers reading their own work. These stories, essays, and conversations revisit the long tradition of oral storytelling that connects us to the inspiration behind the words. Be sure to check the website, writersradio.ca, to subscribe to our free notifications list. It's also a way of letting the writers know you are there and appreciating their creative work.
Writers Radio broadcasts from Half Moon Bay on the Sunshine Coast in Canada, traditional tribal land of the Sechelt Nation of the Coast Salish peoples. We express our gratitude for their wisdom teachings and land stewardship.